On our spotlight today, the attention goes to Kano Empire Princess Zainab Bayero, the filmmaker, daughter of late Emir of Kano, Ado Bayero, who has just completed a documentary film about her late father, an iconic northern monarch. She speaks to us about the decision to become a filmmaker and why she started off a career with a story about her father. Take a look.
Filmmaker and Kano Empire Princess Zainab Bayero stands with her crew at the top of the Dala Hill in Kano to soak in an aerial view of a city once ruled by father. She is cutting her teeth as a filmmaker with telling the story of the iconic leader that led the Northern Empire between 1963 to 2014. While she has always loved her late father, telling his story as one of the longest-serving monarchs of such an historic empire across many eras in the country came with a unique kind of pressure.
Yeah, at first I was a bit hesitant. I knew that would be like an issue, like, oh, she's his daughter and she's telling his story. Is she going to be like just a little bit too close to him and not tell the truth? But I've always been unconventional, so I thought it was cool that I would tell his story even though I'm his daughter. And it's kind of pushing against the norm, and the status quo. So I've always admired people like that, and that's what I'm trying to do with this. So I'm making an entry to the official palace residence.
She is the unconventional princess who has chosen to chase and live her dream, even if it is at variance to the norms and culture of a conservative society. She is very determined to break the stereotype.
I guess this is me being a bit rebellious, but I've always been a good girl growing up and all that. But I just figured that this is something that I'm passionate about, movie making, and people are always going to criticize you and they're always going to talk. So I've experienced that all my life because I'm not that typical, Muslim Fulani girl, because I dress this way and I'm not in an abaya. I like to use color in my hair sometimes. I like to express myself in different ways. So this is just another form of expression for me. So people might be a little skeptical and judgmental, but I think I've gotten a thick skin by now to handle those criticisms. And it's not really typical of a Muslim girl like me to do something like this, but I want to show there are different facets to Muslim girls, and even if you're royal, you shouldn't be affected by that status. You should go for your dreams. And I've always loved films and movies, and this was a natural progression for me. But starting with my father was, I know, unconventional, but that's why I did it.
Her two older brothers, Aminu Ado Bayero and Nasiru Ado Bayero, are the current Emir of Kano and Emir of Bichi respectively. But the Emir that has the biggest space in her heart is the late Emir, who has been described by many with glowing words.
They really loved and admired him, and they felt that this was a great way to remember him and his legacy. So it felt great. And yeah, talking about his entire life in just 2 hours and 10 minutes, it wasn't something that you could just do because he had such a long life. And but I had to just dig deep into the most important and memorable parts of his life.
The documentary explored several parts of the life and time of Ado Bayero, and she went to present-day sites in the empire that best explains these stories. The ancestral home where he was raised, the palace where he reigned, and the present royal museum that used to be a palace but now houses some of the royal artifacts. For her, this isn't only about telling the story of a great monarch, but also a lesson in history for even the generations unborn.
Yeah, I think we don't live in a world where we tend to pay attention to history and, the past. And it's a really, really important part of our lives, history. The histories teach us so much. We can learn to make things better, learn from our mistakes, and you know, the great deeds of men and women from the past really can inspire you in different ways. And I think losing touch with our history is like losing touch with a part of ourselves, you know. Documentaries like this, we can also learn more about history, even in schools, you know, they can like use it as a way to teach. Like I covered some points like the Civil War, and I know most people might have forgotten about that aspect, you know. The Second Republic, there's certain controversial issues that came up in his life during that time with certain political figures and stuff like that. You know, just digging deep into the past, it's really important to tell histories of different figures at different times. And this is what part of what this documentary is about: the history of a man that represents the Fulani Caliphate that was founded in the 18th century.
A part of his story till date still makes her emotional and terrified, and that was the most difficult part of his story to tell.
Um, the most difficult part personally was where I had to go into details about an assassination attempt on his life. So that part was really emotional for me because even though he survived, I remember when it happened how, you know, scared and terrified I was if he made it out alive. So even though he's gone now, it was really an emotional moment going into details about that point where he was almost killed by gunmen. So that part of the story was difficult, but it had to be told because it was really a dark time in his life and in the history of Kano. So I would say that part of the story was very emotional for me and powerful.
Titled My Father, the Emir, a Portrait of Ado Bayero. The documentary film also features interviews of prominent Nigerian leaders about the monarch and is expected to premiere soon.